Hey, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So, what I'm going to call this podcast is Are You Always Second Guessing Yourself? And I've recently been catching myself doing this a lot when I never really used to do it. For the most part, I was kind of like a bull in the china shop. I would just kind of go after whatever I want to go after. I don't care if it was me deciding to make a film, write a book. I don't care if it was deciding to travel somewhere or go do something, try a different workout. Whatever the hell it was, I really wasn't a second guessing type guy. I don't know if that's ego, drive, no fear regarding what I'm interested in. I'm definitely going to second guess myself if you said, hey, let's go jump out of a plane. I'm not even going to second guess. I'm going to say absolutely not. I'm kind of definitely afraid of heights. But, uh, you know, a lot of times I wouldn't think twice about ever stopping myself from going to do what I want to do. But I am at the point in my life now that I'm in my 50s that I kind of find myself kind of paralyzing myself. Because as much as I want to do and kind of try new things, I always start thinking about all the hard work that it's going to entail. Not the fun part, just the bad part. And before you know it, I'm second guessing all the, expenses as well, time and effort. Maybe, and this is one thing I very seldom ever used to think about regarding second guessing myself was the fail component. Am I going to fail? And again, it depends on what your level of failure means. I used to not look at things really for the most part failing financially or anything really. And I've even done this with my YouTube and podcast. I really originally, it's still probably, I'm not caught up in making money on it. If I made money on it, God bless, really. But it wasn't what I was really going after, which is a really big flaw of mine, where I always looked at success as me completing it and completing it the way I wanted it to be completed. Not looking and comparing myself to everybody else because I'm really not anybody else. I only kind of know what I know, and I know what my strengths and limitations are. So even if I was making a film, and I've discussed this before, I'm not comparing myself to a Hollywood-style filmmaker like Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino. I'm not doing that. I know my films are much lower budgeted. I don't have the team behind me. I'm not as talented as them at this point in time in my life. That's a real honest approach that a lot of people don't realize. I think when we compare ourselves, we really have to take the approach to say, I am nowhere near most likely at the level that most people I want to emulate or that I may look up to. Not everybody. Some people are as talented, maybe even more talented. All right. But for the most part, I'm just telling you how I looked at it. But, second guessing myself too, even going through a pandemic during COVID, I never second guessed myself regarding my health, which is, again, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad. I don't fear, sickness. I really don't fear many things regarding that. And I've been very fortunate throughout my life that, especially in my latter years of my life, I've been very healthy. My earlier life, I kind of had a lot of health issues. But once I've kind of flipped that on my head and said, hey, you're not sick, you're healthy, right? I've just programmed my brain that way. It's definitely worked out for me. But I think when it comes to work in general, I'm saying like working for somebody, that second guessing is really where I'm at, I'd say. And I'm really not sure where I fall into or fall in general anywhere. It could be working for others that I know that are friends, family members, and colleagues. Of course, I'll try to help them. But do I really belong in their companies or their organizations? And that can go for people I don't know, other companies that I might have an interest in working with, or they may have an interest in working with me. And I also get hit up by a lot of people. I think, especially after the last year, my social media presence has really grown. So I get a lot of people wanting to team up and do a lot of things. And talk about second guessing, I usually, not to be an asshole, I just turn down 99% of them. Not because of their credibility or not because I don't like them. And I love kind of working with the team that I've created when I want to create things. It could be for my graphic artist, it could be my webmaster, it could be, there's tons of different people that I work with when creating certain things. I'm not even going to get into it. But I'm kind of, one of the things I'm very weak at now is really collaborating and growing with others, if that makes sense. I'm really kind of become such a solo act. And I think that's wonderful as far as, to one degree, being able to do whatever you want, however you want to do it, with whoever you want to do it with. But at the same time, the one component that I used to be really good at, I think that got me really far, was being able to work with others. And I loved working with others, especially when it came to the film industry, when it was even writing, or if it was producing, even helping me direct and edit, and networking. They used to go around and call me the Karma Networker because I loved networking with other people and I loved helping other people. But back to second guessing again, I don't have that in me anymore. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm exhausted from, social media. I don't know if I'm exhausted from connecting with people. And I like making friendships and online friendships. And as you know, most of these friendships, for the most part, you don't know personally a lot of times. But at the same time, I think at this point, even if you have, say, 6,000, 7,000 connections on LinkedIn, or you have 20 or 15, 20,000 followers, how genuine is it? I think I'm at the point where I want things to be a lot more genuine. I don't want to be a collector as far as connections, followers, all that. Sure, if they want to follow me, and I'm creating this podcast because I want to help people as much as I can. And I'm really not, I'd like to see the numbers that my podcast is growing. That is great. I'm not trying to dismiss any of those type of things. But I do also understand that my podcast may fail in the future, and also may lose interest, and I may lose interest. And I am sometimes now, when it comes to me creating things, I am second guessing myself. Because I think sometimes even my opinions, I may even disagree with them a month down the line. I can disagree with my opinion literally sometimes. I'll talk to somebody, I'll be like, yeah, you know what, you were right, I was wrong. It could be regarding many things. So sometimes when you throw yourself out there as much as I do on a podcast or a video, you're always talking shit, or you're always saying stuff, and you're this or that. It may come back to bite you in the ass. And I've been definitely second guessing myself, saying, am I expressing too much of how I feel? Am I expressing, maybe things that or saying certain things about certain things, I guess, that aren't, cool? But I'm always trying to be as honest as possible regarding anything I'm doing in my life. But I just want to do a podcast because you may be going through this as well, constantly second guessing yourself. I would say for the most part during a pandemic, I think a lot of people are second guessing themselves because I'm surrounded by them. I mean, a lot of people, do they want to sell their house at this point in time because they can't afford it, or they don't know if they're going to get their job back, or if they want to buy a home, should I buy one now? Is something else going to happen where it's going to diminish the property value? All these things, not even property, just even relationships, or where they're going to be financially. Like, should I go to school to take on, a career that I've always thought about taking on, but then again, that industry looks like it's kind of diminishing. Should I go after the corporate type of world? But as I'm looking at that, is it going to be more kind of, are people going to need more people like, say, engineers, or somebody who's more in construction or paint, or is that where the work's going to be? I think just in life in general, we're always kind of second guessing ourselves, but now has got to be one of the most, at least in my life, one of the most confusing times, I think, for a lot of us. And I think about that with my daughters as well, going to school, because we have these discussions. I'm like, I can't really tell them a lot of times what they should and shouldn't do, because I definitely don't have the answer. Because if the pandemic has taught us anything, or COVID, or whatever you want to say, it's taught us there's no consistency. The only thing that's consistent is inconsistency. You never think that something like this can come in and have such a major impact on our lives, and it did. So for me to tell them, hey, you should probably go into this career. Like, for instance, a lot of people say, hey, go into the medical field. Both of my daughters have some, not health issue. One had a liver transplant. She's doing amazing. My other daughter's type 1 diabetes, and neither one really wants to be in a hospital or anything like that. But a lot of people you hear, go into the medical industry. That's the future and all these things. And then They didn't want to. I'm just using for an example. But then again, you see a lot of people in the medical industry doing wonderful things, and you also see a lot of them passing away because of COVID as well. Not not tons and tons and tons, but a lot. They're putting themselves in a position of helping others and, almost killing themselves in the meantime, or just being in a position where they could be killed one way or another. It's taken on just a whole different dynamic, and I'm just trying to use that for an example. But do I want my kids? Would I want my kids in that field? I think it was a great field originally if they wanted to go into it. Now I'm scary. It's almost like saying going to the military. It almost being in the medical field and saying you're going to the military. The risk of that is very high right now. So again, second guessing myself, even with my kids, put the hospital aside. Just thinking about giving them advice, I sometimes second guess myself on that. I just kind of want to just be as authentic as possible, but understanding that I don't know what to do at times. And I think we all have to understand that. We don't always have the answers. But sometimes second guessing ourselves and not doing certain things, I will wrap this up and say, sometimes could be the biggest bullet dodger of all times. And I think a lot of times we think we always have to do things. But I've backed up on things, and it could be even in relationships. It could be going into certain ventures with other people or trying different things. And I'm like, no, you know what, I'm out. And then I seen it kind of explode or implode and just not work out for them, or, financially destroy certain people or go do certain things, legal or illegally. And by second guessing myself, actually worked in my benefit. So there's all these different things regarding that. But I just thought I would do a podcast on this. If you are second guessing yourself a lot, I think you are not alone. I think most of society is in that position. And probably just talking with others about it would probably, I think to a certain degree, be one of the best things for you. Because I have these conversations with my friends, family members, and ex-colleagues, I should say. And they're great conversations, really, to kind of figure out where you stand and where they stand. So I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, just check out my website. It's got everything about me. richcelenza.com. I got a YouTube channel. You may be listening to this on YouTube, and obviously I have a podcast too, which is what you're listening to. I'm all over the place. All right, take care.